Hello and welcome to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions Podcast, also streaming on Expert CRE Secrets Podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust. It's one of the best ways for you to exit highly appreciated businesses, real estate, save a failed 1031 exchange, exit cryptocurrency stocks that are highly appreciated, defer that capital gains tax so you can invest into real estate or other assets at any time. And so you can learn more about that by going to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Hey, I'm excited about today's episode. We're talking about how to use credit cards to purchase and remodel real estate at 0%. And our next guest story goes a little bit like this: from house arrest to the top 100 Yahoo Finance in 2020. This guest is a leading authority as a real estate investor, author, entrepreneur, speaker, and credit specialist who has investment properties out of state that have a 60% plus CCR, which we'll talk about what that is. He has a thriving credit repair and trade lines company, but prefers teaching people the credit hacks he's been applying for years, such as building huge credit lines for both personal and business up to 7 figures, and manufactured spending techniques, showing ways to create millions of points equivalent to cash, free travels, and even buying properties using credit cards, and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, out of San Diego, California, Brandon Elliott. Brandon, how are we doing, brother?
Brett, what's happening, man? I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me on.
Happy to have you. For our guests that are getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah, of course. So I'm originally from New Jersey. I moved out to San Diego about 10, 12 years ago. And yeah, I fell in love with it. So I was doing door-to-door sales, Kirby vacuum cleaners. And I got recruited. I did pretty well with that. I got recruited into this investment company back in 2011, 2012. At the time, there was a lot of NODs, like notice of foreclosure, notice of default, and a lot of pre-foreclosures going on. I got a little bit of education in that atmosphere, just seeing the wheels work for real estate investing and the systems in place, and the impact we were making, the money that we were making, and so forth, and just fell in love with it. So I started doing my own research, like books, podcasts just like this, and YouTube. And about 2 years later, I finally pulled the trigger and I started investing in Burr properties, long distance over in Ohio.
Amazing. We're going to dive into all of that and how to use credit cards to purchase and remodel real estate at 0%. But before we go there, Brandon, I want to take one other step back. I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. So I'm curious, go back to the younger days or even right now. What do you feel like the 1 or 2 gifts that you believe you were given, and how does it help, how you help and bless people today?
That's good. Yeah, I think some of the blessings that I have is really guiding people and showing them these financial steps, right? These things of the limited beliefs that we typically think that we need a ton of money, ton of capital to be able to get started in real estate. We've been able to do it with credit. And so I think removing that ceiling right there to be able to get to the next level has been tremendous for so many people.
Excellent. So guiding and helping people to overcome false beliefs.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Great. So let's use that and let's dive right into the number 1 secret to how to use credit cards to purchase and remodel real estate at 0%. So Brandon, what's the number 1 secret to doing that?
Yeah. So it really comes down to bank relationships. And this is something that very little people are actually talking about. It comes down to, the know, like, and trust factor. Banks are in the business of lending out money, right? There's 4,300 banks nationwide. They're all trying to lend money to us. However, it comes down to a low risk category, right? They're not in the business of doing high risk lending. So therefore, it's really important for us to acknowledge what they're looking for and how to be able to fit within their box of lending. Like, how long have we been with these banks? The longer, the better, the more products and services that we're taking advantage of from these banks. Personal checking and savings, business checking and savings, mortgage, personal loan, business loan, CD, whatever it may be. They have a bunch of products and services, right? And then lastly, how much money is actually sitting in the bank, as well as in rotation, what's truly going in and what's going out on a 30-day, 90-day, and even some banks is a 6-month cycle. They want to see all this to have that know, like, and trust factor to put you in a lower risk category and feel comfortable lending to you.
Okay, it's actually pretty simple, but you're right. It's a nuance that
Simple.
we don't even look at, right? So how are you building relationships with banks? So you're looking at them as just like an entity out there that is there just to have your money and have charge you fees or however people might think about it, right? Or you're
Sure.
looking at like, how do I actually become very attractive to them, right? How do I make sure that I'm doing business with them and I'm consistent and I'm taking care of I'm actually using their services on multiple levels.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, that makes perfect sense.
It's
So
it's
go ahead.
simple,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not people are applying for certain loans or cars, many different things, any type of products from these banks, but they don't even have the simple thing like the bank account set up, right? Like these banks don't know them, so therefore
Mhm.
it's more of a higher risk to them.
Yeah, it
Simple
makes
though.
sense. So if in that nuance, I guess the thought would be maybe choose a bank or maybe two banks, I don't know, and do a bunch of business and just to go deeper versus even having like shopping for the best, next checking deal or credit card deal. Is that am I thinking well, or walk me through that?
Yeah, well, so because there's so many banks nationwide, 4,300 plus, it's actually important to have these relationships built up like with as many as possible. So it's going to be an ongoing game. Now, you don't want to get too many bank accounts set up too soon, right? You're going to get flagged with check systems. And what that is basically it's like a fraud protection, as if somebody stole your identity and then they're opening up a bunch of bank accounts because they know the system. And then they are going to do like a mass apply for a bunch of cards on your behalf, take a bunch of credit, identity theft, right? You don't want to go down that route of getting too many accounts open too soon. However, a good rule of thumb is open up a new bank account, start building that relationship every 2 weeks. If you do this, then obviously at the end of the year, like you're going to have a nice little arsenal of these bank relationships. And if you just keep going, then the longer that you're with these banks, and of course, there's certain banks that are going to charge fees and so forth, stay away from them if you don't have I don't want anybody to be opening up bank accounts just to get hit with all these fees down the road. Make sure that you have the minimum in there or whatever it is so that you're not getting hit with fees, but you want to start building these relationships because a year down the road, 2 years, 5, 10 years down the road, they're going to look at that when you go to them and they have a new product that they're offering that you can take advantage of. And all you need to do is throw some extra money in there for 30, 60, 90 days and start building that relationship pretty strong. They're going to look back and say, wow, this guy's been with us for 5 years now. Like it's a low risk. They feel good. They're going to give you a bigger lump sum of money.
Interesting, fascinating. By the way, you can learn more about Brandon Elliott by going to creditcounselelite.com. That's creditcounselelite.com. You can also search Instagram, Brandon Elliott. He'll give his Instagram handle as well here on that. So you're building these relationships, every 2 weeks, and you're playing the game of, I don't want to say it's dating, but it's essentially keeping your options open. You're putting the minimums in, and you're saying, look, don't get hit with the fees, keep the minimums in. And then perhaps if they have a product or if they have a thing, you might put a bigger sum in there for 30, 60, or 90 days, get access to that product or thing, and then you're going to maybe move over your money to that next bank. Am I hearing that right? Or what did I miss there?
Yeah, no, to a certain degree, that's exactly it. When you are ready, because all banks have very similar products, but they go with certain like promotional deals for the time, the season, the regional specific, that when they're trying to get more creative and get more deals from other banks, right? So they do those, and that's when you can take advantage of it. That's when they have 0% interest, they have big bonuses, whatever it may be that you can take advantage of right now. So at that time, you want to have the multiple checking accounts, personal loans, business loans, auto loans, mortgages, whatever they have going on, and then you want to throw some extra money in there. Because there is a thing called internal ratings, bank ratings that we don't ever get to see or know about typically. However, the more money that you keep in these banks, it will set you up for success of, if you put $100,000 in your bank account, this is going to be at their top rating internally. And therefore, in combination of you having multiple different products and services of theirs, plus have been with them for several years, it's going to put you in their top category. You will get funding from them, and you'll be able to get, favorable terms.
Okay, so let's start applying this to the entrepreneur, small business owner, or real estate investor, right?
Yes.
And they're listening right now and they're like, okay, that sounds pretty cool for personal stuff, and maybe I might hack some of those things, but how do I take this to the next level with businesses, with my real estate? Walk us through that. Go.
Yeah. So honestly, it's almost one and the same, because as an entrepreneur just getting started, they are going to be PGing or personally guaranteeing a lot of this stuff to start off with. Unless you have true documentation that is going to show $3 to $5 million per year, then you are going to be somewhat, and I say somewhat because there are definitely dozens of banks out there that will give you the no docs, big boy funding that is unsecured by, your business or your personal credit. However, a majority of them are going to want you to PG it. So you can really set it up exactly the same. The difference is with business credit, there is a strong foundation that is needed. Many people don't set up your foundation properly, and it really just comes down to having apples to apples across the board, meaning, your business phone number, your actual physical location of your business address, the name of your business. It's not a high risk industry, right? And all these different things. You wanted apples to apples across the board with Secretary of State, Dun and Bradstreet, your EIN, which is like basically your employer identification number, similar to social. So all these things make a big impact. And then really the second part of that is, besides apples to apples across the board, is simply just being seen, like your SEO on social media or online in general. So you really should take up the first 1 to 3 pages of online when somebody Googles your business, because the first thing a bank is going to do is Google your business. So they're going to see is this business, is this individual easy to find? If they aren't easy to find, then guess what? You're getting your first red flag. It's going to be more difficult for them to feel comfortable lending to you if they can't find you. So having Google My Business, having Yelp, having, social media accounts, all these different things will set you up for success. And you can get people on Fiverr, for example, to really blast out, or Moz Local, to get you in a high ranking on SEO.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So it's very similar, right? Except you're doing it for your business, and you want to make sure everything's congruent. Because you're seeing your EIN, your addresses, everything that if they were looking you up, they're all consistent, like Dun and Bradstreet, the Secretary of State, all that.
Yes.
So if you move or move addresses, make sure you update that at all of those levels.
Yep.
So they can say, yep, they're all consistent there. Make sure my Google My Business is all laid out. Make sure I have a good SEO, good website, right? Because they want to make sure that you're easy to do business with, so that you can stay in business, right? Because they're probably going if he's not easy to do business with, then what are the odds that he's going to pay me back? So that makes sense. Yep. What's the next secret for maybe the real estate investor, right? Or they have the LLC, and they're not necessarily, they're buying deals, right? But they're not necessarily servicing out to everybody. But I guess you still want to have an SEO. But walk me through that mindset for an investor.
Yeah. So real estate investors, and I know this sounds crazy because we're real estate investors, right? We know the security of it. We know the difference between really a safe investment at the end of the day. Real estate is here to stay, right? Banks acknowledge that as well, but most banks put real estate as a high risk industry. Therefore, there are a ton of banks that won't even do business with a real estate investor. They will not, if your LLC says, John sells homes, or John's properties, homes, whatever, the name of your business is so crucial. So you want it to be generic. You want it to be something. Think of the big companies, the big brands that we know of right now today, Walmart, Target, things like that. You would never know. I mean, Target, you would think maybe it's a shooting range or something, right? Walmart, have no idea. It's very generic. So you want to have a generic, short and sweet name that is going to be difficult for lenders to prejudge you, as well as like categorize you into something else, and you don't want it to be difficult to spell. Okay, so if you have a difficult name and you try making like your LLC that name, don't do that. It's going to just make it harder for the lenders and potentially throw up another red flag.
Got it. Okay, so this now, what my mind is thinking is like, man, Elliott, Brandon, this sounds like a full-time job. Like, what services do you provide or coaching that you provide to make this seamless and like simple, right? Because I want to go buy real estate. I want to go run my business. Like, I don't want to have a full-time job running my credit, or maybe that's my false belief, right? So help me through that.
Yeah, it seems like a ton of moving pieces, and to a small degree it is. Like, I'm not trying to undermine this or sugarcoat it. There is a lot of moving pieces behind it, but it really just comes down to the education. Like, the more time and energy you put into it, it's all out there online. There's people teaching it slightly incorrectly with certain things like business credit, for example. But what I can tell you is that we've made it very simple at Credit Counsel Elite to really break it down at a third grade level, that if you do this, you're going to get these results every time. And that's something that I'm very proud of, because I'm not like one of those gurus out there that's shouting out like, do this. It's like, our stuff truly works. You just got to implement it.
Got it. So maybe they have like an assistant or a virtual assistant that they could like delegate this thing to, and be like, hey, take the course and run with it, right? I don't want to see it like sign up. By the way, go to creditcounselelite.com if you want to get started. That's creditcounselelite.com. So now let's talk about the actual practical 0%. You're floating it for 18 months, right?
Yeah.
And are you going to max it all the way out, or is that going to hurt? You want to keep it at 80% LTV because you want to get another credit card over here, and they don't want to see the max out. They know you're playing the 0% game. So give us just your strategy right now. If Brandon Elliott's going to sign up for 10 credit cards in the next 10 months, right, and open 10 bank accounts, like, give me like the secret here.
Well, the secret sauce is actually applying for not just 10 cards, but more or less like 20, 30, or 40 credit cards, and not in 10 months, but in 30 days. Okay. So I know that scares the hell out of a lot of people. They're like, what are you talking about? There's methods to the madness, right? So let me break it down. It really just comes down to, if you apply for 1, 2, 3 cards, it is going to be the same impact on your credit in about 30 days from now versus if you apply for 40 cards, 50 cards. Okay. So the science here, the madness really comes down to, why settle for 20, 30,000 in new credit lines when you can get 3, 4, 500, 600,000 in new credit lines? The best part is you can do this every 6 months for yourself. Not just for yourself, but your business partner, your significant other, your friends, family, clients, and so forth. So you want to, what we call this is a mass apply. At the end of the day, it's just an application credit card sequence where you put it in the right order. And that's very important. You can't just go willy-nilly at this. There's bank rules of thumb, there's bank policies, and there is a specific order that you have to put it in. And everybody's application sequence is going to be completely different. Think of it like your thumbprint, right? It's like everybody, their relationships with the banks, their age, their credit score, all these things are completely different. So it will be different, the list. So that's why the education is crucial to learn it, so you can put it in the right order with confidence and get a 90% approval odds. But doing this, you'll be able to get sign-up bonuses from banks. You'll be able to get credit card sign-up bonuses, typically 5 to 15,000 in sign-up, just free money, which is awesome. And then you'll be able to get the hundreds of thousands at 0% interest for anywhere from 6 months, 12, 15, 18, or even 22 months. And doing this, it buys you that time that you can be able to leverage into assets like life insurance that pull back out, an arbitrage, or real estate, doing the BRRRR strategy, or
so whatever. Let's talk about that, because we talked about, this is actually using the credit cards to purchase and remodel the real estate. We talked a lot about the how to get there.
Yeah.
So I get $600,000 of credit, let's say, in the next year by doing 20 to 50 cards in a single month every 6 months or whatever, right?
Yep.
Okay. But when I read it, I feel like I read it, Brandon, it says, cash advance is going to cost me 5% or something ridiculous. I'm like, that's
Yes.
crazy. And I throw it out. So what are you doing there? Are you just paying the cash advance when you go to put the down payment for the real estate?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's a mixture of both. You can definitely go that route. It's typically 3 to 5% to be able to do like the cash advance promotional option, right? Or there are other ways that you can even just call in and see if there's any promotional deals going on behind the scenes that they're not promoting to you, but is on your account from your relationship, that they will actually just wire the funds into your bank account and still at that 0% interest for that long period of time.
And no fees. Like you say, hey, would you wire $5,000 into my account and no fees, no cost?
Correct. Yeah. So you're going to want to go higher than 5K, but yes, exactly. It depends. If you only need 5K, by all means do it. But yes, that's the method behind things. You could also use resources like Plastique. You could also use, and that's a website that there are fees behind it. It used to be like 2% and 2.5. Now I think it's right around 3%, but you can actually utilize your credit card, pay all bills, mortgages, rents, or even wire funds into escrow, or pay your contractors and so forth. So that's a great resource. Or you could use a merchant account as well. Again, there are some fees with that. But it's
there's going to be some fees to get it out. But at the end of the day, like if you're getting 10% on your asset and it's costing you, 3 to 5% to get the down payment off of this
flat
money.
fee. Yep.
Right. It's just a cost of doing business. It's like paying your realtor or whatever, right? The commission.
Yeah.
And then now hopefully you've basically got in without having to come out of your own pocket, in the sense of those fees are just charged. They add it to the interest, right? That's all they do. Like if it's 5K and it costs you 5%, they're just going to add that to the interest and you're going to pay the monthly minimum.
Yeah, you have to pay the monthly minimum. So that is something, I'm glad you brought that up. That is something that people don't always realize right away. That is something that you're going to be responsible for, the minimum payment, which is anywhere from like 1 to 3% typically. Very simple stuff. So if you need 60,000 for your renovation, maybe take out 65 or 70,000 so that you can have that the monthly payments covered, and they'll tack on the fees on top of that as well. And then, if they usually just minus it from whatever availability that you have. So,
okay. So walk us through an actual deal you did, right? Just give us one of the last ones you've done and just say like, this is what I did, A to B, A, B, C, D, E, F, G kind of thing.
Yeah. I love it. So the last one that we've done one that's a very good one that I like is our fourplex here in San Diego. It was the purchase price was $1.25 million. We ended up using a good relationship that I have, a hard money lender, for about 80% of it, and the full renovation cost, right? We put $150,000 of for the remodel. So I had to come up with around 370 something, almost 400,000 for to actually, my skin in the game. I utilized credit at 0% interest. I was able to liquidate the cards within 2 days with a manufacturer spending technique at the time, that there was no fees. I actually got paid out, I believe it was $4,000 to be able to liquidate this money. So it was because I'm getting 3%, 2 and 3% on every transaction with using the right cards.
Fascinating. So
I don't want to lose you here. There's some techniques that can get very crazy.
Yeah. But generally speaking, 1.25 was the purchase price.
Yes.
You got a hard money lender at 80% to finance it. And he doesn't care how the other 20% comes. You can come just get cash, Brandon, in your account. You get it through credit cards or whatever. Private, and you go, look, I'm going to go get that other 400,000, which is basically what I need for your down payment.
Yes.
And you had your credit cards at 0% and you're able to basically max those out. Or by the way, do you max them out or do you only go to 90% or 80%? And that 400,000 gets into your personal account as a cash advance, and that's the down payment to close. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. It wasn't a cash advance at the time. It was no fees, but yes. If you're going to use credit cards to be able to do this as a business owner, something that I regret not doing from the very start, learn from my mistakes. Use more business credit cards, right? That aren't going to show up and report underneath your personal. Therefore, it's hidden. If you have a maxed out, it's not going to show on your personal, and therefore your personal score is not going to fluctuate. and you can get more credit on your off of your personal score, right? So if you max out your personal, doing the burst strategy, you need to refinance at the end. I was using more personal credit cards because I was uneducated, just winging it, figuring out when there's a will, there's a way. And instead, I was utilizing, $80,000, and my utilization was higher at the time. So my score dropped 100 points. And even though I was telling the bank, hey, there's so much equity in this property, once we cash out refi, you guys can pay off the card, same bank, they had an issue with it. So I had to figure out how to be able to lower it, pay off that debt, lower it so that my score would go back up. I could get the refinance and then pay off that debt.
Okay, make sure I capture that. Okay, so what you're saying is, no matter if you're getting credit on the personal or the business line,
yes,
if you have it all in the personal line, it's going to affect your ability to get it on the business line. I think that's what you're saying.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's why you always want to just put it all in the business and keep this one really low so you can get more and more businesses, right? Now,
yes.
And is that what you're saying?
I am. And just to clarify on top of that, I still highly recommend, don't just get business credit, get both. Get both and grow it together. But when you go to the leverage aspect of credit that you're leveraging into assets, utilize not the personal, utilize the business.
Right. Because that's going to affect your ability to get future personal and business credit cards, right?
Exactly.
Whereas the business side, it's leveraging against the business. You can still get a bunch of credit cards over here and keep the game going.
Yeah, you got it.
But I like it. I just clicking creditcounselelite.com, Brandon Elliott, everybody, creditcounselelite.com. Okay. So cash advances obviously cost it. I think you got to help us with that again. So you call the bank and say, hey, Mr. Bank, I don't want to pay this 3 to 5% cash advance. Do you have any promotional things? I'd like you to send, I have $20,000 on that line. I'd like you to send on this business credit card, $19,000 right now at no fees. I mean, what are you saying there? What's the script there?
Yeah, it's a good question. So you really want to just ask them. I always tell the story of what I have. Hey, I got this real estate deal. It's an amazing deal. There's tons of equity. I'm going to naturally put a quick remodel into it, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. And I need this cash to be able to complete the renovation. I'll be done in a month or so. After that, we'll be able to rock and roll. It's going to rent out for this much. I'm really excited about it. Do you have any promotional deals? I know I've been with you a long time. I know I have multiple products and services with you guys, and you guys can see that I have good, strong liquid cash in the bank account with you guys. I'm sure my internal rating is very high. Is there anything that you guys can do? Is there a manager special? Like, what can we do to actually be able to get this credit line into my bank account with you guys ASAP?
Okay, that's it right there. And then, what's the percentage of time that actually works?
Well, so in the beginning, when I was doing this strategy, I mean, I've done it with Bank of America originally, Chase, Citi, Wells Fargo, the big banks, very, very quick and easy. And I still get these offers, each and every month today. Because once you take advantage of it once or twice, they constantly,
they see that you're delivering and paying on time, or at least paying the minimums and doing all the stuff. Yeah.
Well, they also want you to get caught up and pay the interest, right? So they're like, oh, he's going to mess up eventually. And they keep on enticing you, but just be a good steward with the money. Like, just, it's calculated risk at the end of the day. So don't go buy the damn Ferrari, guys.
Right.
Right. But also it's important to really know what to say when you're doing your application sequence so that you can get high credit limits as well. Mm-hmm. You don't want to get stuck at just the $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 credit cards when you can get a 50 or 100 or 100.
Well, let's talk about that, right? So what do you mean by that? Like when you put in there and they ask you what's your income and you put $1.5 million and you only made $1.1 million or you only made 500, like what do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's good. So at the end of the day, it is all stated income. So if you are making nothing today, I want you to manifest your future here. Okay. But also listen to them when they are, asking you over the phone, and I encourage you to do this over the phone with them so that you have a human being, but you'll listen to them and hear that when it comes down to the stated income, they're going to say, household income, if you live with somebody, if you can borrow the funds, lottery winnings, child support, if, just like any type of funds that you can think of, they want you and encourage you to claim that you have access to, because they know it's an algorithm that is set up to kind of limit you. So if you say you're making less than 100,000, and then you have a mortgage or rent that is, 20,000 a year, 25,000, whatever, like that's going to hold you back. They're going to give you a smaller limit, guaranteed. Okay. Now, if you are saying I'm making 150 something thousand to low 400 something thousand, and they're not going to check, they're not going to verify. They only start verifying if you're claiming $1 million plus, and they do this simply because once you're over $1 million, they want to start putting you into a wealth category. And that's almost a different department where they actually prioritize you, which is nice. So if you're making $1 million plus, then make sure you get into this category. They'll start treating you better. You'll get more opportunities, more offers, special discounts, all of the above. It sets you up for success. But if you're not, then don't get carried away with what you're claiming here, and write everything down. If it is a business credit card, they might ask what the business has generated. You can say within the $600,000 to $800,000 range, and then they might even ask you what was your take home. That 150 to 400 something thousand is a good rule of thumb. There's many other factors on like what to say and so forth, but these are the most crucial that I see people saying, hey, I make $60,000 a year. And then, in their industry also, that they've only been doing it a short period of time because of the algorithms. If you're saying I'm a brand new entrepreneur, I've been doing it for 1 year or 2 years, I mean, your limits are going to be very low because statistics show that a very high percentage of businesses, 80% or so, are going to fail and quit within your first 2 years. So why would they lend out money to you?
Absolutely.
The algorithms are against you.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're saying 5, 7+ years, and that, your rent isn't out of the mix here.
Got it. So you got to tell the story, what you're trying to do. You got to talk about your track record with the bank. You want to talk about the key things like how much cash. And by the way, before you call them, you might even wire over or ACH over 100,000, let it sit there for 30 days to season. And then call them on day 31, if I'm hearing you right, Brandon, be like, hey, I got liquid cash of $100,000 in the account. I know I've had a relationship with you for the last 5-10 years. Here's what I need it for. Are there any special promotions going on? I am looking for you to transfer up to or A, increase my credit limit, and then B, to 50,000, and then C, put 45 of it, into my bank account without any fees. Would that be a good talk track there?
Yeah, Brett, you are right on point. You got it, man. You're a smart man, so I love it.
Okay, cool. Awesome. And then you're claiming the money, right? Or what you're putting on there, just realize some of those numbers there. So, hey, we're out of time. This has been amazing, Brandon. We're going to go through the lightning round really fast. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 18-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you make sure to tell yourself to do?
Oh, that's good. I think just reach out and ask for more help from, and I used to put a lot of mentors on pedestals. I realized as I've invested in a lot of people that no one has it figured out. No one's perfect. But if you follow people that have good character behind them, good morals, then you're following somebody that is on track to succeed.
Excellent. What's the number? Perfect. What's the number one book you've recommended the most in the past year?
So what is it? There's a book that really goes over the numbers for real estate, and it is it's by Frank Gallinelli, I believe. It's an old school one, but it's a very long title. It's like the 36 key financial measurements that all real estate investors need to know. Perfect. Love it. What are you most curious about right now? What am I most curious about right now? I think I would say probably just travel hacking right now. We have a lot of big trips coming up, so doing a lot of travel hacking more than ever. Awesome. Last question, Brandon. After all the people you've helped, building the wealth you've built, doing all the things you've done, I'm curious, how do you stay centered in your values, and how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach new heights? Yeah, I have a very strong and amazing support group, and it really comes down to just having a strong relationship with my higher power. Our local church is amazing, and we have a strong men's prayer and so forth. And it just we're getting brought up by real leaders. So it kind of keeps me grounded, but also encourages me and keeps me going.
Amazing. Brandon, Elliott, I want to thank you for being on the show. And I want to thank you and encourage you to keep using your gifts of guiding and helping people to create and preserve more wealth, especially using credit and credit going into real estate. For people who want to get in touch with you, Brandon, would you remind them one last time what's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah. So either on Instagram, it's Brandon Elliott Investments. Otherwise, check out our website. We have a free training on there. It's about an hour and 15 minutes long. It gives you truly all the possibilities of how you can do this with credit. So it's www.creditcounselelite.com. That's creditcounselelite.com.
Brandon, thanks for being on the show. I also want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions Podcast, also streamed on Expert CRE Secrets Podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral option, and not having a clear plan is the enemy. Using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust, or do some credit hacking like Brandon's talking about to access and use credit cards or credit for your businesses to buy more real estate is an amazing way for you to create and preserve more wealth. If you want to learn more about how to defer capital gains tax, not using a 1031, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We also have our free ebook there. We're also coming out with our book called Building a Tax Deferred Exit Strategy, and it's a proven playbook for unlocking your ideal wealth plan when selling assets of any kind: cryptocurrency, businesses, primary homes, investment real estate. Check that out, Building a Tax Deferred Exit Strategy, hitting Amazon real soon. Please rate, review, subscribe. Please share this with someone who can encourage today. And we so appreciate everyone out there who are listening and watching us on